There's nothing more serene than the cool blue surface of a quiet lake. It is inviting, the water crisp and clear. But beneath the stillness of the surface, something stirs. Silent, patient, waiting. The struggle is brief, brutal, and merciless. The water churns violently, then falls eerily quiet once more. Very few see her approach, but all know the lake's secret. Those who venture too close seldom return. I don't know that I fully understand the fascination with deinosuchus. Perhaps because it's not my preferred playstyle, or perhaps just because it is so incredibly fat and slow. I very seldom dip my toes into the water. And when I do, at least on Gateway, I prefer my murky swamp gator existence over the entire idea of a lake gator. However, it has been requested numerous times that I finally leave my swamp and give y'all a taste of the Highland Lake gator experience. I'm just going to preface this with a thank you so much for that idea. Definitely not pure torture from beginning to end. No way, no how. You see, to get to Highland Lake, you have to start in water access. Well, technically you don't have to, I suppose, but that's the path of least resistance. Thankfully, my first spawn I managed to get water access though, so no big deal. This was going to be easy. I also decided to play on Petite because it's got more than twice as many player slots as officials. And since I was going to weigh 8 tons and move like a slug, I wasn't too worried about ping-related issues. I reached the lake without too much trouble. Of course, there were bigger, scarier dinos running around on land, but I had chosen to cross as a fresh spawn for a reason. If I died, I wouldn't lose much. And also I would be significantly less visible while crossing. Now that I was there, it was time to grow. Something to note, Farmer was attempting to join me during this time. It, was not going well, to say the least. Fortune did not smile upon his spawns. Anyway, I felt like I was growing decently quickly, until I ate a slice of humble pie when I attempted to lunge a Maya that I thought looked close enough to my size to drag under. Ah, forgot how chunky those are. I set my eyes on a much smaller target instead. There we go. That's better. As I grew, food became more scarce. Starvation was a very real and constant threat. I got by though, dragging away anything small enough, and supplementing my diet with fish as often as they would spawn. For being a lake, most people would assume is swarming with gators though. I seemed to be the only one interested in being there. Fine by me. Less chances of being cannibalized, more opportunities for food. Spotting a small carno making its way to the water's edge, I set up my next lunge. Except, see, then my gator decided to ignore all inputs and dash into the sunset instead of stopping and turning around to drown the carno in her jaws. Luckily though, the carno must have decided that I was a super incompetent gator when my lunge bugged out. Funny. It boosted his confidence and he came back to bite me in the butt. Which proceeded to bite him in the butt instead. It's all fun and games, though, fighting your food on land. Until the adult Maya and adult Stego decide to come marching over to investigate the scene. Oh yeah, also Farmer finally managed to get to the lake. As I nervously ate, because apparently I couldn't carry the Carno carcass back into the water, the Maya and Stego chose to show mercy. I urged Farmer to come eat, and he slowly made his way to what was left of the carcass, only for a Serato to arrive. Shoot. I attempted to block it from him, but my lard gut wasn't massive enough to stop him. Farmer got back into the water, but had taken a beating and still not gotten food. Thankfully, it wasn't long before another small Carno arrived beside the lake. And this time, I was able to keep Fiona the Flabby under control. Around half-grown, I continued to patrol the so-called safe drinking spot. A pair of galleys approached, and I prepared to lunge. Except he jumped right over me. Alright, fair play. But Farmer hadn't revealed himself, and I decided to see if the galley's confidence boost from that adrenaline rush would send him into dangerous territory. I moved to rest on the shore, and the galley decided to come kick me. Oh boy. I planned on having an incredibly slow reaction time, giving the galley the confidence to go for another attack. And promptly snapped him back to chicken heaven. A small Maya approached the water as I took my fresh galley. I was pretty sure that it was grabbable, but I was very visible. And then someone lunged, and it was not Farmer. That's an outcast gator. Nope. It was absolutely time to log out. When we next logged in, food options were incredibly scarce. We were struggling to feed ourselves with just fish, and I was forced to become my own nemesis. I was... a land dino. Carrying some tiny morsel back toward the lake. A Herrera decided to attempt to bother me. He was small and could really only do so much after all. Once I arrived at the water's edge, I put a swift end to him. Now we had not one, but two absolutely tiny corpses to eat. I was nearly 75% grown, but my stomach was not giving me much hope for a promising future. And then that hope was cut even shorter when another dino logged in and managed to sneak up on me as I watched and listened above the surface. Yeah, so anyway, I'll spare you the montage of the next who knows how many hours of respawning in the wrong areas, attempting to make it back to the right water systems, and dying. Eventually, the ability to spawn a new dino got locked, and we decided to give up and swap back to officials. We had a new plan now. Growing in the lake itself was okay, but the instant a larger gator shows up, you're done for. So we were going to grow elsewhere, and then make a triumphant return to Highland Lake as a pair of adult dinos. Back to my gateway roots. Ah, the stench of swamp. Now with extra corpses from all the people who spawn there but want to be literally anywhere else. We met up much more quickly here, and grew without too much trouble. The swamp is basically a barren wasteland currently. Players very seldom go there, so adult dinos are basically non-existent at the moment. That doesn't mean the area is not without danger, though. We smelled food, but approached with caution. You never can know if you're the biggest gators in the swamp. I was quite pleased to spot a smaller dino, though. Perfect. A snack. By the time we were just over halfway grown, the food in swamp simply wasn't filling enough anymore. We moved on to Delta, knowing that there would likely be other gators there, but also hopefully more opportunities to catch larger prey. As we swam, I caught a very interesting smell. Someone was cooking schooling fish for diets. And with the changes to the amount of food and diets those give, it could only mean gators our size or smaller. We approached with caution at first, and then I darted into the side pool after the small dino I spotted there. He was completely oblivious as I missed my lunge. And somehow, so was his buddy. They swam calmly back to the fish school to catch more. I grabbed the larger of the two while Farmer went for the other, who remained just as calmly oblivious to what was happening as during my initial attack, returning to the pile of fish before being munched to death. Neither spoke in chat. Neither attempted to alert the other to the danger. As we ate our fill, though, yet another arrived. Oh, well, this was interesting. I attacked, and this one actually did start yelling in chat. But not what we would have expected. He was simply confused. Best we could gather was that all four were initially together, and that the two that arrived after we'd killed the other two thought we were the friends who had been eaten. Oh well. They kept us well fed for quite some time. Unfortunately for us, the times of plenty would come to an end all too soon. We traveled up and down the entire river, finding nothing to eat except an occasional elite fish. As we returned to the area we'd started in, we heard some nesting tenos. Which was great, except they never came to the water. Ultimately, they ran off and we were actively dying. Farmer was much worse off than I was, having gone into the red long before me, and also having taken a kick from the tenos in a desperate attempt to herd them close enough to the water for me to grab one. We had to act fast. The little side pool we'd hunted the smaller dinos in earlier in the day had been a plentiful elite fish spawn. I rushed over the land toward where I knew it would be, grabbing the first fish I could, and then turning to rush back toward Farmer. He was in deep red health, but the fish kept him alive. Our desperate state did not ease up for the next hour. Farmer was incredibly low health, but we couldn't stop moving or we'd both starve. Finally, we heard a Serato fighting something. I desperately hoped it was something big. Either way, I wasn't going to wait in the water, hoping to steal the kill after it went down. I moved through the bushes, and the Serato rushed right into my waiting jaws. It wasn't much. Sub-Serato. Too small to be of any consequence for one fully grown gator, and another nearly fully grown. As the sun rose, we attempted to grab one very slippery Serato, the last hope for Farmer's survival. But it evaded us. Unwilling to give up, I started back toward him. But he starved to death. Well, shoot. I guess at least I had food now. But our plan to get food and then make the trip to Highland Lake as a pair of adult dinos had now been tossed very unceremoniously out the window. While Farmer respawned, Gateway quite suddenly decided to provide for me. Not only did I have a 98% dino corpse, but an adult stego came running over the rise. I followed it, hoping against hope that it would swim for me. I got my wish, but I was too slow. Dang it. But now my quarry was on an island. As long as I remained close enough, and it didn't go straight across to the other side to cross the main river, I just had to be patient. That patience was rewarded. The biggest meal I could possibly hope for, barring another dino. Oh man, I was sitting pretty. Still waiting for Farmer to make it back, I amused myself by pretending to be a megalania. Amaya was trotting back and forth on the little island where I'd placed my stego corpse, and with the rain I attempted to sneak up on him. I cackled as I managed to grab him, even though there was no way I'd have enough stamina to drown it. I bit it once, forgetting that tactile endurance is a thing, and he escaped. Oh well, I didn't really need a Maya corpse, too. Returning to the water, I decided to just hang out by the stego body, and was amused to see an apparently quite desperate Dilo rush to it without hesitation. And now I had that too. Just as dawn began to approach, another dino arrived. Not Farmer. Nope, not welcome here eating my food. I added that corpse to the pile as well. After quite some time, I spotted Farmer moving down the river, sniffing for the pile of corpses I'd collected. I waited until he was close, and then scared the tar out of him. Though the journey was not as we had planned, we began the trek to Highland Lake. Sure, we'd probably get slaughtered by the first pair of adult dinos we came across, but who cared at this point? It was time to go just to say that at least one of us got there and lived in the lake with an adult dino. We reached water access. I hung around a bit, waiting for Farmer to catch up with his tiny legs. I nabbed a galley land dino style. What have I become? My goodness. It was time for the final, but also most dangerous stretch. If I was to get attacked during the crossing, I'd be a sitting duck. Water drain is deadly, and the crossing needs to be made as swiftly and efficiently as possible. Honestly, though, my crossing was going incredibly well. I was very nearly there. No hitches. And then I heard a dibble running toward me. Oh boy. He was not honestly a very smart dibble. Didn't bother to bait out my attacks, simply traded every single time. But I was racing the clock. The more damage I took now, the less time I'd have to reach the water once my hydration bar hit empty. I made it, though. What a relief. Quite unfortunately, there was nothing around except dibbles. And by dibbles, I mean 3 dibbles that kept themselves mudded up, and who very suspiciously never approached the water if I was waiting near the edge, going to drink immediately after I moved away, then moving away themselves mid-drink if I turned back toward them. Finally, growing desperate and cursing Highland Lake as a horrendous place to try and exist as a dino, I prepared to go get Farmer's corpse so I wouldn't starve. Oh yeah, he died of dehydration during the crossing. As I left the water, though, I noticed a young dibble acting incredibly odd. looking up into a tree and frantically attacking the air. Almost as if I decided to test my theory. He slid away from me. Oh yes, my hunch was correct. Hacking dibbles. The coward had been testing his range hack, most likely aiming for a Herrera up the tree. And of course, now that I'd stepped forward, I was the new target. Should I have just immediately turned back to the water? Yeah, probably so. But I can't always be expected to make the right decisions every time, right? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and comment your thoughts below. If you're new here or haven't already, please subscribe for more content like this. Also, check out my merch. The link is in the description below. Thanks, and see you soon.